What is up, YouTube? It is Onion Bomb here, and welcome back to another Honkai Impact 3rd reaction video. Today, we are still still coming down to it on the animation lore playlist. Originally, I thought this was going to be the final video I did on this, because I thought we were going to finish it today. But I noticed we had another addition to it, and I almost missed that. I had to like come play. Did it get done all the way up again? But I missed it. It was video all the way back here. It's pretty long. It's 34 minutes. That's typically like half of the length of what I do. Yeah, these are I'd say about an hour. They started at about like 40 minutes, but since the start, I think, of this playlist, I kind of upped it to like closer towards an hour. So yeah, I did make a note that last time. I was like, this still is being updated. So barring any additions, we were gonna finish it today, and we did get an addition. So probably not gonna finish it today, but once again, if nothing else gets added, then the next time is gonna probably be it. We are gonna probably get close though. I think. Well, like this video, and then like maybe these other two that are like 15 and 11 minutes, and then we'll have two left, which are 20 minutes apiece. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'm not gonna hype it too much, because you never know. This is kind of sort of like, I think the last two times it got updated, so I believe it's going to it's things are either happening or things are being found. So yeah, we'll see though. We'll see though. I'm going to finish this. First and foremost, I keep saying I do have some other things coming as far as Honkai stuff on the channel, plans and whatnot. But I'm gonna work on finishing this first. If it gets updated, maybe like I guess I'll come back to it. But at least for the time being, I'll worry about like finishing it. If it's still getting updated, then I'll worry about that. So yeah, we are still in kind of the Honkai Star Rail portion of this. This is Impact 3rd, but this one is Honkai Star Rail and Impact 3rd. Like, these are kind of, stuff kind of coming together, dipping into it a little bit. I think that's why I titled the last video "Dipping into Star Rail" a bit. So yeah, this is what kind of videos we're on right now. Somewhat Star Rail related, somewhat Impact 3rd related. And yeah, the new Welt in Star Rail, who is Vita? So I mean, yeah, the new Welt in Star Rail, who is Vita? At first I was like, wait, what are they saying? Welt is Vita? What? But now I guess the club, yeah. So yeah, who is Vita?
Vita is the first character in Honkai Impact history who not only learned that eons exist, but officially stepped onto the path of elation. She's basically Sparkle's bestie. It was Sparkle who gave Vita her mask and brought her into the Masked Fools. What's more, she even knows Sampo Koski personally. So Vita appearing in Star Rail is just a matter of time. And this isn't just a theory. The devs confirmed it. Vita was designed from the start to be like Velt, a narrative bridge connecting the two games. In this video, we'll break down her full backstory. We'll see what connects her to Sparkle, and how she went from being a spineless puppet of an ancient god to joining the most chaotic faction in the universe.
To understand Vita's nature, let's dive into the history of Venus.
We have seen quite a few videos on Vita at this point, but
250 million years before Earth's humanity, Venusians also faced the Honkai, a force bent on destroying their civilization. Leading the planet's defense was a genius director, Dr. Vita, a woman of iron will, ready to do anything for victory. But the longer they fought, the stronger the enemy became. When conventional weapons failed, humanity turned to forbidden tech. Venus began drawing energy from the Sea of Quanta, a special dimension within the Honkaiiverse. In desperation, Dr. Vita crossed a line. She unlocked the Soul System, which stored consciousness copies of every citizen. The result was catastrophic. Instead of salvation, she triggered a quantum tsunami. An energy surge flooded Venus in minutes, wiping out all life on the surface.
Damn.
Dr. Vita remained the sole survivor.
Sure had to know
The
his
sea's
art.
energy changed her, granting immortality and godlike powers. Left alone
Among
among
Us.
the ruins, she laughed and wept, realizing the terrible price of her so-called luck. Obsessed with the idea of reviving civilization, she made a radical choice. Casting aside her humanity and her name, she ascended, becoming an entity known as Sa. Sa took root in the Sea of Quanta, beginning an endless harvest, consuming the energy of other worlds. But behind the Honkai stood a higher power, the Cocoon of Finality. In the future, it would arrive on Earth too. Sa was terrified of a direct fight. Knowing she was too weak, she hid at the edge of the solar system, where the cocoon's influence couldn't reach. Becoming a parasite of worlds, Sa sought to amass enough energy to one day replace the cocoon. For this harvest, she needed hands. She created proxy clones. Their job was to infiltrate worlds and prep them for absorption. Here lies the key difference. Sa is a mad ancient god living in the past, but our Vita is a unique anomaly. Among countless faceless servants, she's the only one born with Sa's own face. A glitch, the true cause of which we'll reveal later. Her creator hated her, yet allowed her to exist. Our heroine started as just a serial number, a biological drone, 150 million years old, devoid of memory, will, or name. Her existence followed an algorithm: infiltrate, gain trust, harvest, then hibernate with a memory wipe. A world died, energy went to Sa, and Vita restarted the cycle. Between missions, proxies were kept in artificial sleep. To make the tools work better, Sa uploaded some of her own memories, but the system glitched. The memories of destroyed worlds didn't vanish. Digital ghosts settled in Vita's subconscious, forming a personality. It was an explosion of self-awareness. For the first time, she said, "I," the foundation of any self. Sa foresaw this. Proxies with sparking personalities were trapped in endless dreams. In the chaos of dreams, she saw the people she'd killed. And instead of obedience, a desire to save them was born. Key to her awakening was Mara, a digital copy of Sa's former colleague. Sa enslaved her, trapping her inside a mechanical monster. Mara hated Sa and despised Vita for wearing her tormentor's face. But in her, she saw a chance and became the catalyst for rebellion. In her dream, the Vita played the Fixer, an obedient agent. But Mara interfered, making her question reality and remember her true self. She realized she wasn't a tool, but a shepherd. In that moment, Vita learned the most important lesson. Freedom isn't given at birth. You have to fight for it. And the symbol of that freedom became the endless starry sky. Sa knew everything, but she didn't care. Having become a deity, she lost all human logic. She only cared about consuming energy. One doll's rebellion seemed insignificant. Thus began the story of the Awakened. Taking the name Vita, an echo of Sa's own human past, she became a mirror of her creator. But after the joy of birth came horror. Vita realized she was a slave, forced to kill those she'd barely bonded with. Now self-aware, she saw the faces of the doomed over and over, along with the endless, monotonous repetition of death. But that monotony gave her a weapon: patience. Vita decided to play the perfect doll. She became the greatest actress, just to one day kill her god. Thus her creed was born: absolute freedom, and hatred for arrogant gods who play with human lives. Vita's plan to gain freedom began to unfold in the bubble world of Salt Snow. It was a virtuoso performance, acting the loyal servant while plotting rebellion. In Salt Snow, she met heroes from Earth, living, unpredictable people. She quickly befriended them and genuinely loved that time. To them, she was an ally. To Sa, a tool. But Vita realized these people were her shot at freedom. For freedom's sake, Vita had to commit betrayal. She leaked intel about the Earthlings to Sa and threatened to wipe out the world. Vita knew Sa wouldn't step in personally, but would use her instead. Sayla, having awakened as a Hersher, engaged Vita in combat. Sa, not wanting to deal with this petty squabble, gave Vita a massive chunk of her power, which is exactly what Vita was waiting for. The fight with Sayla demanded more strength, and Sa...
I shouldn't laugh because, I'm sure I butchered a few of these names before, but Sayla for Seela is crazy. It is funny.
Kept pouring energy in. At the critical moment, Vita used that power not to attack.
Is this? This is... Oh, this is Elix. Oh yeah, 7 days ago. So yeah, some of these videos are kind of like... It's newer getting... So this is still kind of relevant. These are what I'm like... Still do... Oh, I was gonna say something. Oh yeah, I thought this like voiceovers kind of sound like the voiceover like the actual Honkai channel uses. I thought this was like an official upload. That's what I was
to
checking.
Strike within herself, she shattered the mental chain binding her to the creator. This was the
Is this
end
like an
of her
AI
slavery.
voiceover thing?
Vita silenced Sa's voice
I feel like
in
it
her
might
head.
be, but I don't know.
For the first time, she was autonomous, keeping the power she was given. But that was just step one. Sa was still alive, and Vita knew, to be truly free, the god had to die. The story shifts to the edge of the solar system, to Sa's experimental planet, Phosphorus. Here, she wanted to resurrect Venus. Let's rewind a bit. Together with Sa, they built a new civ here, using the gene pool from the Ark. Sa wiped the Venusian consciousness copies, realizing she couldn't build a perfect world with broken souls. Sa's feelings toward Vita were complicated. She hated her specifically for her humanity, emotions she herself had discarded as weakness. Vita's face reminded her of her own screams of despair. Gradually becoming a god, Sa lost herself.
That's dark.
Seeking optimization, she deliberately cut off her useless emotions and virtues: compassion, honesty, innocence. From these shards, she made 7 kids.
Yeah, these are the little Vitas.
Little Vitas.
I thought
appointing
that's what
them
happened.
city guardians.
So yeah, this is, I mean, definitely some more details in here in the way things are being phrased, but this is still the 1.2 Vita story.
Elder Vita became their nanny. She took care of them,
Impact 3rd.
brought them gifts. For the first time, she formed real human bonds. To the Vitas, she was their beloved big sister. Once, Vita nearly broke down from the overwhelming feelings. The little Vitas confessed their only wish was for her to stay with them a little longer. She'd only felt a shock like that once before, the moment she woke up. But the little Vitas became a curse. Sa created an artifact with the power of samsara. When the kids activated it, thinking they were following protocol to solve a crisis, they actually triggered a flood. The water killed everyone, including them. Elder Vita was left with an insane task, dragging them out of the water, wiping their memories, and restarting the loop. Vita grew attached to those Sa simply recycled in her attempts to build a perfect civilization. Returning to Phosphorus as a free agent, Vita saw a chance to end Sa for good. Events brought Earth's heroes to the planet, Fu Hua and Grisio. Vita decided to weaponize them. She fed them intel while staying in the shadows. It all led to one thing: the Mad God had to die. The little Vitas learned the truth about themselves and the city, but their love for their sister remained. Being Sa's virtues, they could be used against her. The kids decided to sacrifice their lives. Vita tried to stop them, claiming she didn't care, but they chose death to save their home and their sister. Vita herself couldn't fight. Using her powers on Phosphorus would have instantly destroyed her by the Creator's will. Earth's heroes fought a fragment of Sa, but she used divine punishment, killing Fu Hua. Yet at the decisive moment, Vita turned against the Creator. Using the artifact's samsara power, she locally reversed time, undid Hua's death, and helped smash Sa's clock, proving divinity isn't omnipotent. Thanks to the Earthlings' plan and Vita's interference, this part of Sa was destroyed. This weakened her significantly and marked the beginning of the end. Sa was broken. Endless existence, basically as a machine, had drained her. Deep down, she wanted it to end. When Vita infiltrated her after the defeat, it was more like euthanasia than murder. Vita promised not to repeat her fate. She gave her creator a peculiar funeral. Killing the Creator, Vita took the most precious thing from the dying Sa, the eyes of Bodhi, the core of her power. Though weakened in Vita's hands, it granted her Sa's abilities and made her the new creator of Phosphorus. But power came with a price. A rule kicked in. Creations of Phosphorus cannot remember the Creator. Gaining Sa's power, Vita was automatically erased from everyone's memory. But the worst part, she was forgotten by the little Vitas, her sisters and brothers. Although the little Vitas had died, Vita restored their bodies and brought them back, saving their souls. But when they woke up, for them, Big Sister had never existed. Vita gained absolute freedom, but remained in absolute solitude. This moment finally cemented her title, the Lone Planetfarer. Having absorbed the eyes of Bodhi, Vita became a planetary-scale entity. Even if Sa's core was weakened, Vita's arsenal is still terrifying. Her main power is mind manipulation. Vita reads thoughts, enters dreams, and edits them. She sees people's true motives and hacks both psyches and digital systems. In combat, Vita keeps her distance. Why get her hands dirty when she has the Star Traveler? Sa's giant mecha now obeys her. Vita upgraded it, boosting its firepower and size tenfold. With a snap of her fingers, this Titan rains down laser beams and massive strikes.
Very
Vita
cool.
can also pilot the mecha herself, amplifying it. Vita never does anything
Looks like some very cool
just
ults.
because. Even her attacks, it's all a show. It's not enough to win. she has to do it with style. Because if you're free, you must have your own style, something she lacked as a faceless proxy. Another fundamental ability is controlling the Sprout of Wishing. This is the mechanism Saw used to harvest worlds. It works like a parasite, feeding on desires and strong emotions. Now, using this principle, Vita can store energy in the artifact she kept from Phosphorus. By provoking huge crowds into strong emotions, Vita literally feeds the artifact with their reactions to gain power. The irony is that Vita herself is also a Sprout of Wishing. But while normal sprouts were for destruction, Vita became an anomaly. That's her true origin. Not a system error, but the result of merging Saw's divine authority with her unconscious desire to keep the part of herself lost fighting the Honkai. Vita is the embodiment of Saw's humanity, surviving against its creator's will. She's living proof that even after becoming a god, you can't completely kill the human inside. Besides that, Vita inherited some of Saw's other divine powers, creating matter from energy, accelerating her own time, and controlling the time of created objects. The core opens up huge possibilities, and we've yet to see Vita's full potential. But most importantly, she now has a masked fool's mask, gifted by Sparkle. We don't know all its properties, but it lets her bypass imaginary energy barriers and leave the Honkaiimpact homeworld. Gaining independence, Vita didn't choose the hero's path. She stayed in the gray zone. In the Mars story arc, she became the quantum computer operator. There, she found the perfect partner, Entropy. She saw a reflection of herself. Entropy was also a tool made by the Martian goddess for endless sims. Vita calls herself a gravedigger. Her goal isn't just to help a sister in misery, but to dig a grave for an arrogant god. So Vita wrecked her plans. When the Martian goddess forced the Dreamseeker to live the same scenario, Vita stepped in to break the cycle. Hacking the system, she forced the goddess out of the shadows, revealed the truth to Entropy, and helped her become self-aware. In the finale, Vita even risked herself, confronting the goddess so Entropy could absorb some of her power. Regarding her personality, Vita often acts provocative, turning people into cubes, trolling heroes.
What?
But a key
In
detail,
the queue.
Vita's trolling here isn't just for laughs or mockery. It's provocative behavior that exposes emotions and essentially breaks people's boundaries. However, it's not just that she's bored. It's her past. She spent millions of years enslaved by Sa, a god obsessed with order. For her, any script, duty, or strict rule is a trigger reminding her of prison. Behind her defiance isn't just boredom, but a massive experience gap. Having spent 150 million years as a god's tool, Vita effectively doesn't know how to interact normally,
That would make
since
sense.
everyone around her was just fuel for the harvest. Vita lacks the skill for human intimacy. So her trolling isn't a whim, but the only language she has. She tries to connect the way a being of her scale sees it, through trials, games, and provocation, unconsciously hoping someone sees her clumsy attempt not to be alone. Her trolling is also a reality check, proof that the world isn't another harvest, but real life. Only an unpredictable, living reaction convinces her she's talking to people, not puppets. Moreover, for Vita, these games are the only safe form of love. Here, she sets the rules. She's no longer the victim, but the game master. By forcing interactions on her terms, she ensures she'll never be a helpless toy again. And that's why, meeting someone stronger or getting an unexpected reaction, Vita sometimes just freezes, unable to joke it off.
The irony of her loneliness is best seen in one detail. Inside her formidable battle mecha lies a hidden digital dorm room with chibi versions of the heroes. A powerful entity capable of erasing cities essentially plays with dolls, watching their virtual lives. This is the Vita no one sees, a victim and rejected clone seeking connection she will never admit to. And some heroes from Earth, like Mei and Kiana, see in her a lonely soul who simply doesn't know how to ask for warmth directly. Perhaps it is this silent understanding on their part that gives her hope. But hope for Vita is too fragile a feeling to put on display. She is much more used to hiding behind paradoxes. Vita realized that the role of the villain is the most effective tool. While heroes waste time on moral dilemmas, she acts. Once, she intentionally turned characters against herself to unite them against a common enemy. She likes destroying expectations. Everyone expects nastiness from her, but she prepares a surprise. Vita saves the world pretending she wants to break it. It's faster and more fun that way. Her attitude toward intimacy is also interesting. She intentionally attacks enemies from a distance, avoiding direct contact. But this avoidance applies only to strangers. With those she has accepted and who have accepted her, like Kiana or Sparkle, the barrier falls. Her standoffishness is not a phobia, but selectivity. She only lets in those who passed the sincerity test. In the community, Vita is often reduced to a troll and villain. And this is not surprising. She is brutally honest about her sins, but secretive about her virtues. She openly speaks of her misdeeds, but masks her good deeds. Vita asks for no forgiveness. She accepts her darkness. This is a complex alloy of personality, the creator's shadow, and the fear of becoming a puppet again. These very contradictions make her truly alive. Herein lies her main paradox. For an ordinary person, stability is a blessing. For her, a trigger. Order equals slavery. So she seeks chaos. She needs movement and unpredictability to drown out the echo of loneliness. But this is simultaneously her curse. On one hand, she desperately seeks acceptance, the very family she found in the little Vitas. She wants to be understood, not to feel superfluous. After all, the worst loneliness is being lonely among people.
Among us.
Vita herself says, "Do you know what a grain of sand loves most? Winter. Because all strange, ill-fitting creatures will be accepted by the snow that covers everything." She feels like this grain of sand, small, hard, and alien. In the company of heroes, she is an outsider, a former enemy. She doesn't fit. Snow for her is the chaos of a common cause or celebration. It hides differences. When everyone is busy saving the world, no one sees the killer in her. At that moment, she is one of everyone. She is accepted. Vita seeks not just attention, she seeks shelter. Creating games and pranks, she builds a safe space where she can be near people without feeling like a monster. On the other hand, to preserve her personality, she must be a masked fool. She wears the mask not for fun, but to protect her fragile freedom from herself. Why did Vita, who hates deities, accept the masked fool's mask? The answer is simple. She is tired of predictability. Saw was absolute order. Joy and sparkle are absolute unpredictability. For Vita, who is allergic to scripts, the philosophy of the masked fools became a breath of fresh air. She doesn't need chaos for the sake of destruction. She needs freedom from the script. And the path of elation is the very place where scripts, in the usual sense, simply do not exist. Accepting the mask, she didn't join a circus. She burned her prison robe. And Vita also needed someone who would understand her cynicism and love for the absurd without moralizing. That is exactly why, meeting Sparkle, she didn't try to stop her. Vita saw in her a reflection of that side of herself she no longer needed to hide. But how did this meeting happen at all? Sparkle arrived in the Honkaiimpact world not by chance. She was attracted by fireworks, echoes of ancient Mars destruction. To shake up the frozen reality, she staged a grand prank. She created a dream world copying star rail locations and tried to infect the Martian quantum computer with a virus. The most interesting thing is that even before arriving in the new world, Sparkle already knew about Vita. She went for a virtuoso deception. She wiped her own memory so Vita couldn't read her intentions. Mind reading is useless if you don't remember yourself that you are the instigator of the game. In this duel of two manipulators, the girls quickly found a common language. They teamed up, beating up poor Sampo Koski, whom Sparkle skillfully lured to Mars as a scapegoat. Even losing to Vita in the final round of her prank, Sparkle remained delighted.
Sampo is one of those characters. I believe I do have brief memory of knowledge of when I peeped Honkai Star Rail for like the first time.
Vita not just a local, but an ideal actor trapped in a bad play. Saying goodbye to Vita, Sparkle promised to return with a gift, and kept her word. Soon she brought Vita a masked fool's mask. Vita accepted it, officially stepping onto the path of elation. The Aeon Aha creates masks personally for each masked fool, and Vita was no exception. Now the power of elation is available to her. For Vita, receiving the mask is not joining a circus. It is the final act of liberation, a declaration that she will no longer follow other people's scripts. From now on, she writes the rules herself, even if they make no sense. Friendship with Sparkle does not contradict Vita's desire to be accepted. On the contrary, this is acceptance, but not as a good girl, but as an equal, dangerous and unpredictable. Sparkle offers what Vita craved for millions of years, the freedom to be herself. Despite all her power, Vita remained a prisoner of the solar system until recently, due to the barrier of imaginary energy. But the masked fool's mask became the key. The mask's power allows ignoring the boundaries of worlds. Now Vita is a lone planetfarer among stars.
When is this video
The
going
confrontation of two
Was that a
tricksters
fan-made
became the
thing,
basis
or?
for the animation for the two Honkai's collaboration. They traded
Oh, yeah.
barbs, competed in deception, and fought using mechas.
Fired a nickel for each Vita video we watched in this playlist that ended on the Vita versus Sparkle
This animation is
fight. I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird to have it. I can't. Well, I'm just kidding. We're not. There's still like 4 minutes left of this video, but yeah, that other one like ended with like that same bit too. Once again, that was such the very banger
part
animation.
of the canon.
They cooked with that.
The phrase from its ending about the future journey repeats Sparkle's weapon description word for word.
More for more.
This means that Sparkle's battle with Vita is not just a promo, but reality. The video's events likely happen in the future, after the current story. In the finale, Vita says their journey will be pleasant. Perhaps this battle will happen after they leave the Honkaiimpact world. Vita walked the path from a spineless shadow on a dead planet to a god's puppet, from traitor to deity, and finally, to a member of the most unpredictable faction in the universe. Now she has everything for interstellar travel. The mental power of the Eyes of Bodhi, an autonomous battle mecha, and a masked fool's mask opening any doors. Her status is confirmed officially. In an interview, developers stated, Vita was conceived as a proxy and a bridge, a unique character capable of moving freely between the worlds of Honkaiimpact and Star Rail, and connecting the plots of both games, like Welt. However, Vita differs from Welt. While he ended up on the Astral Express involuntarily, Vita must leave the system consciously. She is driven not by duty, but by personal interest and a thirst for a new show. Sparkle's invitation was accepted, and the question isn't whether Vita will appear, but whether the developers have changed their initial plans. After all, Vita is a paradox.
Didn't Vita already appear in the games? I thought that she was like she already appeared in the story of Star Rail. Yeah, huh. Because it was only posted 7 days ago. I'm being dumb. I'm thinking of part 2. I'm thinking of comparing part 2 to part 1. Never mind.
She strove for freedom to be
Never
alone,
mind.
but now uses this freedom to seek connections. With Sparkle, with anyone who will dispel her boredom.
That's not like the first time I did that too. I don't know if I did that verbally, but I keep mixing up Honkaiimpact 3rd Part 2 and Star Rail because it's like it's still kind of like both are kind of not continuations, but only one really. They're like the next phase after like Impact 3rd, the part 1 and part 1.5 and stuff.
She runs not
The
from the
next
past, but from the emptiness inside herself. What role will she play in Star Rail? Will she become a powerful ally? Or, in the spirit of the new faction, turn the adventure into chaos, simply because she finds it fun?
Well, the
Vita's
masked fools, from what I've kind of deduced, maybe they might made some chaos there. I don't know. We'll see.
Appearance in Star Rail could happen very soon. In the version 3.8 story, there was a direct reference to her. Sparkle's doll directly mentions the Star Traveler, Vita's personal battle mecha. And this happens on the eve of opening a new world of elation. A coincidence?
I think not.
In Hoyoverse games, there are no simple coincidences.
Never
Skeptics
coincidences.
will say this is just an Easter egg. Indeed, in Star Rail, there are many references to Honkaiimpact. Himiko quotes the Honkai Creed. Acheron repeats Raiden Mei's words. But these are emotional references. In the version 3.8 story, it's different. Sparkle named a concrete object, Star Traveler. This is not a philosophical concept, it is a unique battle mecha. For an ordinary player, it's just a name, but for Honkaiimpact fans, it's a beacon signal. Considering the time difference between the games, Vita may well have been traveling with the Masked Fools for many years already. The Planet of Elation is the ideal stage for her debut, possibly not immediately as a playable character, but as an active plot participant. After all, for Vita, the entire universe is a stage. And the show must go on. Write in the comments if you are waiting for Vita in Star Rail, and if you think she will appear. Be sure to watch the previous video via the prompt on the screen.
It's
Thanks for
unavailable.
watching.
Nah, thank you, Elix. That was a good video. That was a good video. Put together, you know, Vita's story, throughout the Honkaiimpact, you know, time, really well, and put some like things into perspective, and you know, get like put her like feelings into words a bit too, and kind of made her character even a little bit more understandable. And yeah, very interesting. If we'll ever see her in Star Rail, I was kind of a little confused there. Like I said, mixing up Star Rail and Part 2, but yeah, that would be interesting. Another connection between the two games, just like Welt. Pretty nice. That was pretty good. Definitely a longer one. But that really put things into, refresh some things with Vita and put things all together. Yeah, very, very good. It does appear, that they're kind of teasing it, hinting it. It was funny, like, skeptics will say it's just an Easter egg. I don't know the way that was worded, like, haters will say it's fake. Skeptics will say it's just an Easter egg, but yeah, all around a good video. And this next one here is we got definitely an older one, 2 years ago, but this is a beginner's guide to lore of Honkai Star Rail, and this is by Ashikai, I believe. Oh yeah, just a little bit ago. We had a Vita video. So nice. This is definitely a beginner from way back when I think the game first like started. So I'm still a beginner. So let's find out.
Okay. If you've clicked this video, you're probably thinking about playing Honkai Star Rail, and if you've seen any of the promotional material, you probably realize that it's a pretty story-heavy game. And story-heavy games tend to have a lot of new stuff to remember, especially sci-fi games, like this one. And that steep learning curve often makes for a confusing first few hours while you wrap your head around what's going on and what it all means. But not this time. This time, dear viewer, you have me, Ashikai, lore and theory enthusiast, to assist you in understanding this brand new world of Honkai Star Rail. So this video is a gentle, mostly spoiler-free introduction to the world and lore of Honkai Star Rail. The general idea here is to help ease you into some new terminology and give some more context for how the world within the game works, so you're not totally blindsided and confused or overwhelmed when you pick up the game for the first time. Now, I did say mostly spoiler-free because there will be some minor spoilers for the first hour-ish of the game just because the context is needed. But
I actually think I have that. I should have that. I definitely played it for an hour, so I should have that covered.
before we begin, I know a good chunk of you are probably wondering.
And once again, I keep kind of teasing this. I'm sorry. Like I said, I want to finish this playlist before anything else. But one of the things that I want to upload like in the next part of my Honkai videos is the VODs of when I played both Impact Third and Star Rail for the first time, and once those are kind of caught up, maybe even like go beyond that and like continue to play the games for like videos. And I still plan to do that. It's just I like I said, I want to finish this out first, and I do have some other ideas, but I want those I think are gonna happen like at the same time. I'll be a little bit more descriptive and less discreet. Sorry if that's annoying. I'm just I just want to get organized first and finish this before I say like I'm gonna do this and this and this. But and honestly, I'm still figuring things out myself for when I want to upload things, what I want to start next. So yeah, it's all in due time, but it will come.
We need to
Big
play
trust.
Honkai Impact Third to understand the story of Honkai Star Rail, because they both have Honkai in the title.
No, correct?
And the truth is, no,
No.
you don't. While playing Honkai Impact may increase your enjoyment of Honkai Star Rail, the two games take place in entirely different universes. So even if characters in Star Rail share looks and names with characters from Honkai Impact, they're not the same people, so you don't need to worry about not knowing their backstories or anything. There is one exception to this rule though, but we'll talk about him later. But if you are still worried that you might be missing out on some important lore or world building by not playing Honkai Impact, I will start this video by explaining the most relevant part of Hoyo's multiverse setup that carries over from the world building of Honkai Impact. It's short, simple, and it'll probably get explained independently in Star Rail at some point anyway, but here you go. Now within Hoyo's multiverse setup, which I will now just call the Hoyoverse, there are two primal forces, the imaginary tree and the Sea of Quanta. So it might be easier to think of them as the Tree of Order and the Sea of Chaos. It's a gross oversimplification, but I think it's easier for the unfamiliar people to conceptualize it this way, since the forces of Order and Chaos are generally at odds with each other, and the imaginary tree and the Sea of Quanta are trying to devour each other, so same kind of concept. Now, metaphorically speaking, the Sea of Quanta is basically this pool of infinite possibilities from which grows this imaginary tree, which takes those possibilities and orders them, branching out into countless directions. The leaves that sprout at the end of these branches each contain an entire universe in and of themselves, and because these universes are part of this imaginary tree, they all operate based on the laws of the, quote, imaginary. So this imaginary energy from the imaginary tree makes up the basis that is called Honkai in Honkai Impact, but Star Rail just calls it imaginary energy. Imaginary energy is pretty important in Star Rail as eons and paths, which we will go over in a bit, are very powerful entities made up of imaginary energy. It basically makes the world go round. Regardless of how it manifests, though, imaginary energy is likely the reason why Honkai Impact and Honkai Star Rail share the Honkai in their names. But that's really it. That's where the connections between the games end and where our introduction to the unique world of Star Rail begins. But if you're still worried you're missing out on something, I will leave a link to Island XD's guide to Honkai Impact for Star Rail players. Now, let's set all that Impact talk aside and get familiar with the world of Star Rail. Let's start by talking about paths. Star Rail's universe is focused on this concept of paths, and those who walk a path are known as path striders. Paths are basically philosophical ideas given some kind of metaphysical form through the accumulation of imaginary energy, which makes them incredibly powerful forces. By believing in and practicing the concepts of a chosen path, a person can draw on the powers of that path and become a path strider. Now, like I said, a path is a philosophical idea or a concept. Those who follow a path believe in its philosophy. For example, path striders of the path destruction may believe that the universe is a mistake and therefore must be destroyed. However, mortals are not bound to any one singular path any more than they are bound to any one way of thinking. If their philosophy changes, their path can change as well. For gameplay purposes, paths manifest as a type of class, if you will. Those who follow the path of abundance, for example, might be considered to have the class of a healer or a cleric, while someone following the path of destruction has abilities more like a fighter or a berserker. Now, if one finds themselves completely committed to a path and manages to explore the deepest parts of it to truly comprehend it in its entirety, they may transcend their mortal form and become something known as an Eon. Now, you'll notice I did not specify that the one ascending had to be human, and that's because they don't. Any sentient life form, whether organic or inorganic, has the capability of becoming an Eon, so that includes things like artificial intelligence. As for what an Eon actually is, they are something like the embodiment or master of a path. While they're not traditional gods, they are beings of godlike proportions. To put it into context, they're kind of like an ocean, while a Pathstrider is a mere droplet of water. And while they are ageless, they are not actually immortal, as they can be killed by either another Eon or by ceasing to walk their path. Because remember, they're the embodiment of their path, so without their path, they're basically nothing. This means that an Eon is forever bound to their path, and they cannot stray from it. The Eon of Destruction can't just wake up one day and decide to walk the path of harmony, for example. To become an Eon, you trade your ability to change for incredible power derived from one singular path. Now, as godlike entities of cosmic proportions, an Eon's interest in mortals may vary, with some Eons choosing to meddle more than others, but ultimately the lives of mortals are small and inconsequential to them. Sometimes, though, a person with a powerful affinity or talent within a given path will pique the interest of an Eon. This is known as drawing the gaze of an Eon. Those who have been gazed upon by an Eon become something called an emanator, which is kind of like the Eon's will given mortal form. Emanators are extremely powerful and often attract other followers of the same paths. In doing so, they form something called a faction, which is really just a fancy way to group followers of an Eon together under one kind of cohesive label. Now, though factions tend to follow the will of an Eon, forming a faction doesn't necessarily guarantee any sort of special blessing or assistance from the Eon, regardless of whether or not a faction contains an emanator. In the end, factions are just people bound by a common way of thinking, so it's handy to know the philosophy of each Eon and their path in order to understand the goals of their associated factions. Although, since factions are mortal creations, their understanding of their Eon's path can often be twisted or far removed from its original intended meaning. The meaning of things is pretty subjective, after all. Currently, there are 18 known Eons, but only 7 of these Eons' paths are available to playable characters. Every Eon will play a role in the story at some point, and I will probably make a video going over all 18 at some point, but there are only 2 that we're going to familiarize ourselves with today. Those are Akavili the Trailblaze and Nanook the Destruction. Akavili was one of those rare Eons that enjoyed mingling with mortals. In fact, they're considered to be the Eon that was closest to mortals. They were also responsible for laying down the rails for the Astral Express train system throughout the universe, and they invited mortals to board these trains. Those who did so joined the Trailblaze path and formed the faction known as the Nameless. Akavili would often adventure alongside their Pathstriders, making them very unique among the Eons. But I'm using past tense here because Akavili died in a mysterious accident that derailed the Astral Express and wrecked many of its train cars. Without the Astral Express, the Nameless also vanished. But as luck would have it, one of those broken trains landed on the planet Himiko was from. She managed to repair it, reforming the Nameless faction and making the Trailblaze path accessible once again. This is the Astral Express train car that we board as a player. Now, rumor has it that Akavili's heart is in the core that powers the Astral Express, and that's what allows the train to travel across the galaxy, but there's no evidence to support that claim. But there must be some level of truth to the nature of the core of the train, if only because without the power of an Eon, travel via the Express would be difficult for just a normal Pathstrider. Unlike the free-spirited and benevolent Akavili, the Eon of Destruction, known by the name Nanook, believes that the birth of the universe was a mistake and desires the destruction of all civilizations. Their followers are known as the Antimatter Legion, or just the Legion, and actively attack civilizations with the goal of total annihilation. Nanook is the one responsible for the distribution of Stellarons throughout the universe, and Stellarons play a huge motivating role in Star Rail's story. So while we don't really understand Nanook's motivations beyond destroy everything, he is a key Eon to pay attention to because of his connection to the Stellarons. So what is a Stellaron? Well, a Stellaron is widely believed to be a seed of destruction, created and distributed by Nanook the Destruction. They're also called the Cancer of all worlds. These seeds fracture reality and spawn rifts that lead to interdimensional spaces called fragmentums, and those attract monsters, so you can see why that would be problematic. The genius Herta claims that Stellarons are actually a type of life form, since they do appear to have some sentience and have been known to communicate with those of a certain aptitude. She also claims that Stellarons can tether themselves to an eon's path, and that they are capable of responding to the cumulative desires of a world or planet that it happens to find itself on. In certain circumstances, it can even fulfill those desires, but that comes at a cost. Stellarons are the seeds of Nanook, after all, and even if they can perform miracles, they ultimately bring disasters. Now, within the first hour or so of the game, we, the player, and the crew of the Astral Express will learn that the Trailblazer has a Stellaron inside of their body, of all places. This is highly unusual, and while it seems to be pretty stable in there, it's too risky for the Trailblazer to stay in any one place for too long. If the Stellaron becomes unstable for any reason, they could bring destruction to any ship, space station, or planet that they happen to be on. Luckily, the Nameless aboard the Astral Express are quite experienced in dealing with the Stellaron, since simply having an unstable Stellaron within range of the train tracks can cause the train to come to a complete stop, and it won't move again until the offending Stellaron has been neutralized. But as long as the Stellaron inside the Trailblazer's body is stable, the Astral Express can move unimpeded. If it becomes unstable, though, well, there are at least people around who can deal with it right away. All in all, the Astral Express is the safest place for the Trailblazer to be. I've mentioned the Nameless faction quite a bit, but I haven't really talked about them individually, so let me rectify this now because as members of this faction ourselves, we'll be spending a lot of time with them. To start, we have the elegant scientist Himiko, also known as the one who found and repaired the Astral Express, and that kinda makes her the boss. She might also look pretty laid back, but Welt says she's extremely driven and may be chasing a very big but unknown dream. Now, she does share looks and name with a popular character from Honkaiimpact, but it's very important to note that they are not the same person. Next, we have Dan Hung, who's level-headed and clever. He boarded the train to escape a past that he doesn't like to talk about, and he kind of functions as the train's guardian. He says he's running from something or someone, but he can't quite seem to remember what or who it was, so he's never stayed in one place for too long until he came aboard the Astral Express. Like Dan Hung, March 7th has a bit of a foggy past. She was found by the Nameless floating through space inside of a big chunk of weird magic ice. She doesn't remember anything about her past, so they just named her after the day that they found her, which was March 7th. She's excitable, carefree, and at times a little bit careless, but you can always count on her for optimism and her trusty camera. Welt is among the oldest members of the Astral Express and is from the planet Earth, a planet that no one else seems to have heard of before. Long after the Honkai threat on Earth had been dealt with, Welt found himself forced to travel into space with a friend to deal with another threat. Unfortunately, his ship passed through a portal and broke down, stranding him until he got picked up by the Astral Express. He's searching for a way back home, though, but until then, he's just kind of chillin'. Now, Welt is the only character who's actually from the world set in Honkaiimpact, and so far, all references to that game are only relevant to his personal backstory. I think it's possible that through Welt, we might learn more about the true nature of the events that occur in Honkaiimpact, but I'm not convinced that any of those revelations will be impactful to the story of Star Rail. That said, if you want to learn more about him, most of his really interesting story beats and accomplishments are actually found in comic form, so I'll leave some links to those in the description box if you're interested. And that leaves us with the player character, the Trailblazer. The Trailblazer has a pretty well-defined and sassy personality and does have voiced lines throughout the game, unlike some of Hoyoverse's previous player characters. The Trailblazer is a character with no known past or family, and in fact they appear to be completely synthetic, created by a mysterious faction known as the Stellaron Hunters. During the first hour of the game, two Stellaron hunters, Kafka and Silverwolf, infiltrate Herta's space station and create the Trailblazer as a vessel to house a Stellaron that was being kept by Herta. While their exact motives are unclear, the Stellaron hunters seem to want the Trailblazer to board the Astral Express in order to reach the end of their story, whatever that means. So with no past, no ties to any planet in particular, and a ticking eon bomb of unknown purpose in their body, the Trailblazer doesn't really have anything except that singular goal of reaching the end of their story to guide them. Now, this is just speculation on my part, but the Astral Express was created by the Eon Akavili, and Akavili's origin planet is known as Pagana. Pagana is the location where the silver rails of the Astral Express begin and end. So if the Stellaron hunters want the Trailblazer to follow the path of the Trailblaze and reach the end of their story via the Astral Express, perhaps the Trailblazer's destiny lies in the final destination of Pagana. As for the reasons behind the journey and what they might find when they arrive at the final stop of the Astral Express, you'll just have to play the game and find out for yourself. I, however, will be covering the lore of this game, including story recaps, summaries of in-game materials, character profiles, and so much more, so drop by whenever you need a break from combat. Honkai Star Rail has a ton of compelling characters to meet, stunning locations to explore across the universe, and plenty of mysteries to uncover. And this is just the beginning. So again, my name is Ashikai, and allow me to formally welcome you aboard the Astral Express with non-stop service to, well, anywhere you want to go. So good luck, have fun, and I'll see you next time.
All right, that was a good beginner's lore guide. I do remember some of that stuff a little bit. Yeah, just interested to kind of maybe get more into Star Rail after this. Kind of just get into like both games and stuff. I know I was also sent a character trailer playlist for that game, so that's another thing, you know, post Onion Bomb reaction Odyssey, post playlist Odyssey thing we'll get eventually. I'm gonna do one more video here, and that will leave, as of right now, that will leave 2 more for next time. Still gonna be probably a decent long video, because I'm looking at the time, we're at 21 and 28 minutes, so still probably gonna be a decently long video. And that is if nothing else gets added. If there is another video that gets added, I think if there's like one more video that gets added, even if it's a little bit longer, I think next one should still be it, just like a bit longer of a recording, kind of sort of like this one, maybe. I'm not really sure. But if there's like another few that get added, then we might have to, you know, once again extend the ending of this playlist. Now, I just want to be clear, I'm not complaining or anything. I very much appreciate these videos in this playlist. I just don't. I just keep making it funny. I keep being like, yeah, we're gonna finish it, and then like, hey, I lied. We got more. So yeah, we're ending on a Homu Labs video. It is an older one. I saw as I was talking. It was 2 years ago. A look into Himiko's character through the Honkai series.
Warning! This video contains major spoilers for Honkaiimpact 3rd. If you are planning to play the game,
Really? Major? And what happens? About Himiko? Nah, no major event in Impact 3rd with Himiko. No.
please do not proceed. Although, given how much the Honkai community likes to talk about Himeko on the internet, I'm sure that you already know about her fate, even without playing. But if by any chance you do not, then what are you doing? Go and play Honkaiimpact 3rd. Or not, it's up to you. I'm not your mom to tell you what to do. Ever since they announced Himeko as a playable character in Honkai Star Rail, a lot of Honkaiimpact 3rd players were hyped beyond control. Okay, maybe that's an exaggeration. Or maybe not. After almost 5 years of Himekopium, we're finally here. It's no secret that Himeko is one of the most beloved characters in Honkaiimpact 3rd. So, seeing her again in Honkai Star Rail felt like a happy reunion between friends. As I'm sure that you know if you're still here, Himeko died in Honkaiimpact 3rd, and her sacrifice was one of the biggest turning points in the story. This video is a look into Himeko's character in both games, showcasing how Honkai Star Rail Himeko represents a second chance for the character to realize her dreams. More Murata Himeko lived a life full of loss and regret. When she was little, her mom died due to illness. She was raised by her father, Murata Ryusuke. Ryusuke was a Shixel researcher tasked with studying the fourth divine key, a satellite from a previous civilization that could control the weather on the entire planet. Due to his work, Ryusuke had very little time to be with Himeko as she grew up. But even so, Himeko loved and admired her father, wanting to become a researcher like him when she grew up. Himeko's childhood dream was to board a spaceship and explore the universe. Because of that, she began to study astronomy and developed a passion for UFO sightings and aliens. After graduating high school, Himeko enrolled at the California Institute of Technology to study aerospace and space engineering. At the institute, Himeko studied under people like Einstein and Walt Yang, who she greatly admired. Walt even accompanied her on a UFO sighting trip to New Mexico, although it was to conceal the truth behind it from her. Unfortunately for Himeko, her life was about to take a turn for the worse. Plagued with guilt and regret for years, Murata Ryusuke went mad. In his crazy mission, he tried to kill and take over Walt's powers to free humanity from this planet. Fortunately, he was stopped by Walt before he could do any real damage, but Himeko got hurt in the process. Fearing that the truth about her father might be too much for young Himeko, Walt and Einstein chose not to tell her that her father was a maniac, leaving her to believe that he was the good man that she always thought him to be. Himeko found out that her father worked for a military organization called Shixel. Shixel's goal was to combat a destructive power that plagued the planet called Honkai. Himeko decided to give up on her dreams and enroll in Shixel's Valkyrie program to unravel the truth behind her father's death. Due to having poor Honkai adaptability, Himeko was implanted with artificial stigmata. Stigmata are a product of biotechnology used to improve people's control over Honkai energy and allow them to fight. Stigmata also come with great risks, and using them for a long period of time can even cause death. After becoming a Valkyrie, Himeko became part of Shixel's assault squad under Ragna Lodbrok. Himeko and Ragna developed a teacher-student relationship, with Himeko admiring her greatly. Unfortunately, during a special operation in Siberia in 2010, the entire assault squad was killed by the Herrscher of the Void's first awakening in Kiana's body. Himeko was the only survivor because she was not deployed on that mission. After losing yet another family, Himeko was recruited by Teresa Apocalypse as a teacher at Saint Freya Academy, a Valkyrie school in the Far East. By that time, Himeko became an alcoholic who never took things seriously and was always messing around. In 2014, during the Nagazora incident, Himeko found Kiana Kaslana, Raiden Mei, and Bronya Zajcik. She brought them back to Saint Freya, where the girls enrolled in the academy. As time passed, Himeko and the girls got closer, with Himeko vowing to always protect them. After much loss, Himeko found people who she cared about yet again. But you know the saying, good things never last too long. And this is especially true in a Honkai game. In 2016, Atto Apocalypse, the overseer of Shixel, woke up the Herrscher of the Void inside Kiana's body, triggering a global disaster. To save Kiana, Himeko and the girls from Saint Freya charged into Shixel's headquarters. Himeko pushed herself to the limit, and her body was slowly falling apart due to her artificial stigmata. Fu Hua gave her a serum that could neutralize the Honkai infection and led her to the Vermilion Night Eclipse battlesuit, a powerful battlesuit that would allow her to fight the Herrscher of the Void on equal terms. Loss after loss, Himeko's life was a series of tragedies where the people she cared about the most died over and over again. This time, however, she was willing to do anything to stop that cursed cycle. After she donned the battlesuit, Himeko fought the Herrscher of the Void. Using all her powers, she got close enough to use the serum that could have saved her own life to help Kiana take back control over her body. After giving Kiana her final lesson, Himeko goes down with a smile, sinking into imaginary space as her life comes to an end. Himeko lost every single person that she cared about. She gave up on her dreams to find out the reason
R.I.P.
behind her father's death, and even after she joined Jigsaw, she lost her mentor
It's still sad to see. That's probably about the 5th time at this point I've seen that, and it's still, R.I.P. If we're counting in like B-roll too, like background footage, way more than 5, but I've seen that animation at least 2 or 3, and some other times.
Everybody in her squad. In the end, she became addicted to alcohol and fooled around just to run away from her problems. But when Kiana was in danger, she couldn't let the same thing happen again. Armed with fiery determination, she gave up her life to light up the embers of the future. Maybe in another world where the threat of Honkai isn't present to ruin everything, she can finally realize her dreams and travel through the stars to explore the universe. Oh, wait a minute. When I first read the Alien Space manga, I thought to myself, it would be so nice if we could get another Himeko that can fulfill her dreams. And here we are.
Himeko Star Rail.
Himeko in Honkai Star Rail had a completely different fate, but both of them shared the same dream. Honkai Star Rail Himeko was a major in interstellar travel dynamics in her own world. One day she saw the Astral Express falling down from the sky. After the Express showed her a myriad of magnificent worlds, their destinies became intertwined. Himeko repaired the Express and set out on an endless journey across the stars. During this journey, the Express stops at every world that Akivili, the Eon of Trailblaze, visited in the past and picks up new passengers. Each person has their own journey and their own destination. The first 2 passengers were Walt and the Golden Cube, the mysterious blonde person who we definitely don't know who it is. Shortly after, Dan Heng and March 7th also ended up on the Express due to their own special circumstances. In the meantime, Voidar, the mysterious blonde man who we don't know who it is, left without even saying goodbye. But this never bothered Himeko. She knew from the beginning that this is a lonely journey. Each passenger will one day leave the Express except for her, because the Express is Himeko's destination. As long as people travel on the Express, they are like family to her. I found it fascinating how her story portrayed loneliness in both games. In one game, people around her kept dying, while in the other, she had to grow accustomed to the fact that every relationship she builds is just a fleeting moment as they travel together. And while I would argue that one is definitely worse than the other, it's interesting to see this character always associated with the theme of loneliness and loss through all the Hoyo games. Even her role in both games is very similar. In Honkaiimpact 3rd, she is the captain of the Hyperion, while in Honkai Star Rail, she is the navigator of the Astral Express. In both games, she's a teacher-like figure for the main cast, and she's addicted to drinks that, if consumed in large amounts, can be harmful to your body. But I've gotta say, I think it's better to be addicted to coffee than alcohol. And now, to answer the question that everybody has been asking. Should you subscribe to Homo Labs? And the answer is
Yes.
if you want to see more Honkai lore related content and comparisons between the 2 games, of course. Thank you very much. Now, to the other question that everybody has been asking, will Himeko die in Honkai Star Rail? Honestly, I don't think so. While she serves a similar role in both games, and I can totally see Hoyoverse using her death to facilitate the growth of March, Danheng and the Trash Blazer, I don't think that they will do it again. They've already done it in Honkaiimpact 3rd with Kiana, so I don't see a reason for them to do it again. And in my opinion, it was already perfectly executed executed in Honkai Impact 3rd. No need to emulate it. Star Rail doesn't need to be a second Honkai Impact 3rd. Alas, this is Hoyoverse, so you never know. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe that Himeko will die again?
Maybe it'll be the first, what's the opposite of a lesson? Break? Or the first recess. I don't know if that's exactly, I guess kinda the opposite of a lesson, but instead of the final lesson, the first recess. I hope they don't kill off Star Rail Himiko, because I think they've already done enough damage to Himiko.
Always light up the sky and guide the people around her to a better future in every game. No matter if it's trailblazing through the stars or giving them the courage to fight for everything beautiful in the world, her unyielding flame will never burn out, be it through her own ambition or through the fiery will that she passed on. Torches might go out, moonlight might dim, but this eternal flow will always light the path ahead of you.
Very nice. Thank you, Homu Labs. Very good video. Like always. Very good video. And it looks like the final 2 videos on this playlist are by Homu Labs. So we are gonna be ending with him. Also, just in case like it says there's always been like one hidden video, I think, because it says 217, but we only have 215 and 216 left. So I'm not sure which one that was. It could have been at any point in the playlist, but it's hidden because got deleted from YouTube, I think, something like that. I think even unlisted videos are still on here, but yeah, that's gonna do it for me this time, guys. If nothing else gets added, the next time's gonna be it, for real. Even just being temporarily at the end of this playlist right now is crazy. Only having 2 videos left. But yeah, I am excited. I'm excited for what I want to do next with Honkai on the YouTube channel. And I'm excited to, crazily end this playlist. So yeah. Cool. So we got like, we're still mentioned Star Rail. Beginner's Guide to the Lore of Star Rail, that was complete Star Rail. But yeah, the other 2 with Vita and this Himika, like, they're still mentioning Impact 3rd. But yeah, the other ones, I believe the final 2 are still are Star Rail related. So yeah, getting into both of them. Very nice. One last video next time, maybe more. We'll see. It all depends. It depends. For now though, that is gonna do it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like or dislike, subscribe or don't subscribe. No, it's always up to you. I will see you guys in the next video. You watch with me. Goodbye.